All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about a hidden intelligence inside your body. And no, I'm not talking about the one in your head. We're talking about your gut and the surprising science that shows it acts like a second brain. You know that feeling, right? A gut feeling, or getting butterflies in your stomach? We say it all the time. But what if it's not just some old saying? What if it's a sign that your gut is, well, actually thinking? Yeah, I know it sounds a little out there, but the science is backing this up. Your digestive system is way more than just plumbing. It's like this bustling city of cells and chemicals and bacteria, and it's doing so much more than just processing your last meal. Okay, so before we get into the whole mind part of it, let's do a super quick tour of the hardware. Think of your digestive tract as this incredible biological superhighway. We're talking about a muscular tube that's, get this, up to 10 meters long. And every single meal you eat takes a very specific road trip along this highway. And you probably know the basic stops on this trip, right? It all starts in the mouth, and food gets massaged down the esophagus and churned up in the stomach. From there, the small intestine pulls out all the good stuff, the nutrients. And finally, the large intestine gets everything else ready for, well, you know, the exit. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, almost mechanical, but that's where the story gets really interesting. Because this is where everything changes. See, hidden inside the walls of that 10-meter superhighway is something just astonishing. It's this whole independent network, so complex that scientists have given it a pretty powerful nickname. Just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about here, your gut has over 100 million neurons. To put that in perspective, that's more neurons than you have in your entire spinal cord. I mean, that is a staggering amount of processing power, and it's sitting right there in your belly. And it gets even crazier. You've heard of serotonin, right? That neurotransmitter that makes you feel happy and content? Well, where do you think most of it is made? Surprise, it's not in your brain. A whopping 90% of your body's serotonin is produced right there in your gut. So that feeling of well-being, yeah, a huge part of that journey starts in your stomach. So let's put this together. You've got more neurons in your spinal cord, and it's the main factory for your body's feel-good chemical. It's pretty obvious this is not just a simple plumbing system, and that's exactly why scientists have started calling it the second brain. Now, if you want to get technical, the official name for this system is the enteric nervous system, or ENS for short. Basically, it's the gut's own private brain. It's the command center that manages digestion, metabolism, all that stuff. And here's the kicker. A lot of the time, it does it without any input from the brain in your head. Okay, so the gut can work on its own. That's cool. But the connection back to the brain, that's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. There was this incredible study by a neurologist, Dr. Louise McCullough. She was studying stroke recovery in mice, and she stumbled onto something totally unexpected. Older mice were dying after strokes, but it wasn't the brain injury that was killing them. It was infections caused by bacteria leaking out of their guts. So her team tried something radical. They took healthy gut bacteria from young mice and put it into the older mice. And the result? Their survival rates just shot through the roof. It was a game changer, and it perfectly illustrates this idea that, as Dr. McCullough says, the whole field has just completely exploded. She points out that it's a targetable intervention and that it's easier to change gut health than it is to target the brain directly. Basically, fixing the gut could be a backdoor to fixing the brain. And this constant two-way communication, this is what scientists call the gut-brain axis. It's a nonstop conversation between your two brains, and the main phone line connecting them is this huge nerve called the vagus nerve. And what's so important to remember is that this is not a one-way street. The gut isn't just taking orders. It's sending a massive amount of information right back up to your head. So you're probably wondering, how did they actually talk to each other? Well, it's basically a really sophisticated conversation using chemical messengers, like hormones. To see how it works, let's just look at one key process: how your stomach makes acid. Okay, this is not like flipping a light switch. It's a whole cascade, a chain reaction. So when food hits your stomach, that's the first signal. It tells certain cells to release a hormone called gastrin into your blood. That's the messenger. Gastrin then travels to another set of cells and tells them to release a different chemical, histamine. And finally, histamine is the one that gives the order to a third group of cells to start pumping out the stomach acid. It's this beautiful multi-step process, all handled locally, right inside the gut. And what's really amazing is how the gut regulates itself. It's got this whole complex on switch to make acid, right? Well, it also has a universal off switch, When things get a little too acidic in there, it releases another hormone that just shuts the whole party down. It keeps everything in perfect balance. And once we started to understand this amazing chemical conversation, well, that opened up a whole new world for medicine. We started figuring out more and more sophisticated ways to step in when that balance gets thrown off, with things like chronic heartburn or ulcers. You can really see how our understanding has evolved just by looking at the treatments. I mean, back in the 40s, the best they could do was literally cut the vagus nerve to reduce acid. Super drastic. Then, by the 70s, we had the first drugs that could block one of those chemical signals. By the 80s, we had even smarter drugs that could go right to the source and block the acid pumps themselves. And today, we have even faster, more targeted options. It's a perfect story of going from a sledgehammer to a laser scalpel.
But now, the game is changing again. We're moving beyond just playing defense and blocking acid. The new goal is to rebalance the entire gut-brain system. And so, we're seeing these amazing new therapies pop up. Things like using a tiny electric current to stimulate that vagus nerve, or using specific diets and probiotics to change your gut bacteria. Even things like fecal transplants and mindfulness practices are being used to leverage that powerful gut-brain connection.
So, where is all of this heading? Well, all signs are pointing to a pretty radical future for medicine. A future where your doctor might not start by asking about your symptoms, but by asking for a sample of your gut. Seriously? Just picture it. A future where doctors can analyze your personal microbiome, that unique community of trillions of bacteria living inside you, and then create treatments that are customized just for you. We're talking about personalized therapies for everything from Alzheimer's to cancer, all based on getting your second brain in top shape. And this really gets to the heart of it. Like Dr. McCullough says, keeping people healthy and cognitively intact as long as possible is going to be a goal of the millennium. This research is showing us that the secret to a sharp mind and a healthy body as we get older might not be in our heads at all. It might have been hiding in our gut this whole time. So here's the bottom line. Your gut and your brain are in a constant conversation, and it affects pretty much everything: your mood, your immune system, your health. And that community of tiny organisms inside you, it's as unique as your fingerprint. So that leaves one last really fascinating question to think about. What conversation is your gut having with your brain right now?